Yeah, FP3 is here, having the qualifying soon, but the FP3 was mad with rain. With a lot of rain on the track, and like I told you, it's going to be a rainy weekend. The FP3 was mad with rain. So 10 minutes into the FP3, we had a crash by Logan Sargent. While the drivers are still testing their inters, a lot of drivers skidding off, aquaplaning. Then we had Logan Sargent's crash. It was a very big crash, a very huge one that the engineers, the technicians are already looking at how they will survive or what they need to do to get ahead of this crash, because it's already looking bad for them. It's looking bad for him, seriously. I don't know. He will be leaving the team next year, but with more damages, with all these crashes, I don't know. I don't know how the team will deal with it and how himself will deal with it. I think he needs to look for a way around it and sort himself out. The session resumed for about 1 minute, and Max Verstappen got his elbows out, complaining. I think he's under investigation. The drivers were trying to find time. Those drivers that didn't come out when others were out before the crash, trying to find time. But in all, I can still tell you the McLaren and the Mercedes still looks ahead. Qualifying is coming soon. Ferrari are also getting into the mix. Maybe they are understanding their upgrades more. We don't know yet. But this race will determine what happens in Monza for them. But the Red Bull are still where they are. Maybe they are still the fastest or not. We don't know yet. But they still look where they are. But I can tell you certainly that the McLaren is still the fastest now, but they are where they are, and it's still going back to what we've seen in previous years before 2022, that the Mercedes engine is still superior, and that is what Mercedes has been able to use to clinch all the championships in which they've had. Not the engineers, but the engine. If they've had the better engineers, the better aerodynamics, they would win all the championships since 2014 even till now. But Red Bull had always been on top of the aerodynamics then, even and now. But now, presently, the aerodynamics is nowhere. That's the major problem in the Red Bulls are having. Their aerodynamic is failing them, especially the floor, and getting the right way the car should balance. I think they need to sort that out. But in qualifying, we will know the team that will qualify ahead and how tomorrow will be. But I can tell you, tomorrow is still a race between the Mercedes and the McLaren. But immediately after the qualifying, I might tell you who will win the race. But let's look ahead for the qualifying. And before I forget, certainly I don't see Logan Sargent coming back for qualifying with that kind of crash, the suspension, the chassis. I don't see him coming back until tomorrow morning, because that's a lot of work for the mechanics to do, and it's going to keep them in the garage even all through the night. But let's see what comes up. They now have a chassis, unlike when they don't have a spare chassis. They have a spare chassis, but even if they are going to transfer all those things into a spare chassis, from what I see, they need to change that gearbox. A lot of things need to change on the car, to be changed, the suspension. So attaching all those things is not a job that they will do under 2 hours or 1 hour. I think it's the whole day job, and the car might be ready for race tomorrow, so you'll be starting some P20, P30, P40 tomorrow. But let's see what they're able to do ahead of tomorrow. I hope they will be able to get the car to race tomorrow, but the qualifying, I don't see that car coming in for qualifying. Certainly a qualifying that you don't want to miss. A great qualifying, I tell you, a very great one. Starting from the Q1, we start having actions. The wind played its role, but the rain did not play its role here. There was rain in the sky, but the rain never came down. And in the qualifying, some drivers see opportunities, they take it. Hamilton looks fast. In Q1, he was fastest, and he was so confident in the car. With Ricciardo, Ocon, Bottas, Zhou Guanyu, and Logan Sargent out. Logan Sargent, remember, had an accident in FP3 and could not get into qualifying. His car should be ready for the race tomorrow, certainly. But Ricciardo 16th, Ocon 17th, Bottas 18th, Zhou Guanyu 19th. Going into Q2, the McLarens look very good. On tires, they can warm up fast, but Mercedes are still suffering on tire warm up. And the wind yesterday, FP1 was about 30 kilometers per hour. FP2 we have 19 kilometers per hour. FP3 we have about 19 kilometers per hour, but it increased a little during the qualifying, and we're having close to 32 or so. And the wind played a big role on some drivers, while it didn't impact a lot of drivers. Alex Albon giving himself a whole lot of breathing space. Great drive, wonderful drive for him. And we have a very close time. Unfortunately, we have Lewis Hamilton out in Q2. Yes, you heard me right. Lewis Hamilton out in Q2. Lewis Hamilton out in Q2. Carlos Sainz out in Q2. Haha, yeah, that's funny, but that is what we had. Lewis Hamilton out in Q2. Carlos Sainz out in Q2. Carlos Sainz looking 11th. Lewis Hamilton 12th. Tsunoda 13th. Hulkenberg 14th. Magnussen 15th. Now, the Ferrari pace is not so impressive at all. Mercedes looks great, but with Lewis Hamilton out, the wind played a role in Lewis Hamilton and Carlos Sainz being out. Lewis Hamilton will also be called into the stewards room Maybe a penalty, maybe not, but I don't think he deserves a penalty, certainly, because there was nowhere for him to go, impeding Sergio Perez. But a lot of track improvement into Q3, where it all went down. Lando Norris took the pole position. Max Verstappen second. Oscar Piastri struggled, but he was third. But I can tell you, it's going to be a great race. Lando Norris was by a landslide ahead of Max Verstappen, about 3/10 ahead of Max Verstappen. Then from 2 to 4, they had about few tenths away from each other, which shows the dominance of Lando Norris. That qualifying lap is a mega lap. A very good lap from him. Sergio Perez, good qualifying for him in 5th. George Russell, good one in 4th. But I think if Lewis Hamilton had been able to qualify very well, he could have been in the mix, and it would have been a very great one for them. And Carlos Sainz also, if he had qualified very well, he could have been in the mix. These guys could have been in top 4. I mean, Carlos Sainz and Lewis Hamilton could have been in top 4, which would make it a great race. But I can tell you, tomorrow's race is going to be very, very good. And I can tell you who will win the race and what will happen already. Charles Leclerc, good one, 6th position. Fernando Alonso, 7th. Nice one, Fernando Alonso. At least gave it a 1 out of it for his teammate that was doing well all through the qualifying and the practices. Albon, 8th. Great one. Stroll, 9th. Pierre Gasly, 10th. Pierre Gasly, beautiful, beautiful qualifying for him. So, now, what might impact the race tomorrow? Lando Norris might impact the race because he had not had good start whenever he had started pole. He had not had that. Even when he started second, he had not had good start. And I hope he had a good start tomorrow to make the race a great one. But will he be able to cope with the pressure from Max Verstappen tomorrow? I cannot say, but certainly at the end of the race, I believe it's going to be a Mercedes engine all through on the podium, except there's a mistake. So I'm talking about the McLaren and the Mercedes on the podium. I don't see Max Verstappen or Sergio Perez getting on the podium. I even see Lewis Hamilton getting ahead of Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez. Why am I saying this? The pace of Lewis Hamilton yesterday on the long run is massive. It's crazy. And if they can do some little things and do some tricks on it, I think it's going to be massive tomorrow for Lewis Hamilton, moving through the pack, getting close to those ahead in 3-4 laps. And if you can do that and stay with them, it's just a matter of tire changes, other factors that will affect the race. But I can tell you it's going to be Mercedes engine all through on the podium tomorrow. But up until tomorrow, I can tell you it's going to be a very, very good race, because from what we are seeing, this is set up for a banger, and you can't afford to miss tomorrow's race. I'll bring you the best analysis, and certainly you're going to enjoy it. Up until tomorrow, I love you guys. Bye. Chi.